Have you ever stopped to wonder if that piece of art you made, that article you wrote, or that song you recorded is now secretly helping to train a multi-billion-dollar AI? Well, there's a new law in California, Assembly Bill 412, that's trying to answer that exact question. It's all about cracking open the so-called black box of AI training. All right, let's get into it. First, we're going to tackle the huge question at the heart of all this. Then, we'll look at how the first attempt to fix it was, well, a bit of a mess. After that, we'll get into the clever solution they came up with, how the bill actually works now, the arguments on both sides, and finally, why this whole thing is such a big deal. So, to really understand why this bill even exists, you've got to appreciate the absolutely massive scale of data we're talking about. I mean, these AI models are fueled by digital universes of information, so much stuff it's kind of hard to even imagine. And that's exactly where the trouble starts. See, in a big rush to build the next amazing AI, developers basically just vacuumed up the entire internet. We're talking books, articles, songs, every image you can think of. A huge chunk of that is copyrighted stuff, and it's being used with no permission, no payment, and not even a heads up to the people who actually created it. Right? That is the billion-dollar question for every creator out there. As it stands, there's pretty much zero transparency. You have no real way of finding out if your specific work was used to train a specific AI. And that uncertainty, it's what's behind this huge wave of lawsuits against basically every big name in AI, from individual authors and artists to giants like the New York Times. So what do you do about it? Well, the first draft of AB 412 had a pretty simple idea. But as you know, in the world of big data, simple can get really complicated really fast. The idea was super straightforward. A creator asks an AI company, "Did you use my stuff?" And the company has to give them a complete list of all their works found in the training data. The problem wasn't the idea, it was the reality of it. Imagine you're a developer with a dataset that has trillions with a T of data points. Sifting through all that to pull a comprehensive list for one person and doing it in 7 days, they said it was a technical and financial nightmare. Yeah, and the tech industry, they did not mince words. A coalition of opponents, with the Chamber of Commerce leading the charge, flat out called the bill's requirements manifestly impossible. They argued it would be ridiculously expensive and could crush smaller startups just trying to get in the game. But this is where the story gets really interesting. The bill was basically dead in the water, but then its authors came back with a super clever technical fix for what seemed like an impossible technical problem. They introduced this idea of an approximate content fingerprint. Just think of it like a unique digital signature for a file. It's not the file itself. You could never use it to rebuild the original song or picture, but it has just enough unique information that a system can scan a gigantic data set and go, yep, I see something with a nearly identical fingerprint right here. And here's the best part. According to the experts who looked at this, a computer science professor named Ben Zhao basically said, look, this isn't some crazy futuristic tech. It's a one-time, low-cost process that would be a drop in the bucket for these AI companies. And it works for everything: text, images, audio, the whole shebang. This one change just completely flipped the script. We went from searching for a needle in a digital haystack to something incredibly simple. A creator makes a fingerprint of their work, sends it over, and the AI company just has to run a search for that fingerprint. It's fast, it's scalable, and it's secure. Problem solved. Okay, so with that brilliant fingerprint solution figured out, the bill was back in business. So let's break down what the latest version of AB 412 actually requires. The heart of the bill is really about creating a new set of rules for everyone. On one side, developers have new responsibilities, like keeping track of the copyrighted data they use and, of course, providing that fingerprinting tool. On the other side, creators get new rights, like being able to submit a request and actually get an answer within 30 days. And if the companies don't follow the rules, creators can take them to court. It's all about trying to level the playing field. Now, to keep people from just spamming the system, the bill has some common sense limits. Creators can only submit one request per calendar quarter to the same company for the same AI model. And this bill definitely has teeth. If a company just ignores a valid request, they could face a civil penalty. We're talking either the actual damages the creator suffered or $1,000 per violation, whichever is more. Plus, they'd have to cover attorney's fees. It's also really important to know that this law isn't a blunt instrument. It's very targeted. There are specific exemptions for certain kinds of AI models, like ones used for academic research, or models trained only on data the company already owns or that's totally free and public. So it's really focused on the core issue. But even with all these changes and smart fixes, the debate around AB 412 is far from over. You've got really strong, powerful arguments coming from both sides, and it's worth hearing them out. Supporters, and this includes big groups like SAG-AFTRA and the Authors Guild, they see this as a fundamental issue of fairness. Their argument is pretty simple. How can copyright owners exercise their rights if they don't even know their work was used in the first place? For them, this bill is just a basic tool that lets them find that out. But the opponents see it very differently. Groups like the Chamber of Commerce and the Electronic Frontier Foundation, they argue that this bill is basically an end run around the established federal copyright system. They're worried it's going to force companies to reveal their secret sauce, their super valuable training data, and that it'll just put the brakes on innovation. So you might be thinking, why are we so focused on a single state law in California? Well, because when it comes to tech, what happens in California almost never stays in California. It often sets the stage for the rest of the country and sometimes the world. Look, this bill isn't happening in a vacuum. It is one piece of a much larger, fast-moving story. You've got these massive lawsuits, other transparency laws already being passed, and even a major court ruling that suggests AI training can, in fact, be copyright infringement. All of this is swirling around while the U.S. Copyright Office itself is getting ready to release its own huge report on AI. So AB 412 is a really critical piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. And that leaves us with the big question, right? Is transparency the secret ingredient we need to build a future where both human creativity and technological innovation can thrive together? AB 412 is California's big bet that the answer is yes. But as this AI revolution keeps charging ahead, this is one story where the final chapter is still a long way from being written.